So things were going pretty well at McGill. I was studying, I was playing lacrosse, I was playing rugby. And then I finished my studies at McGill, and it was time to move on to the Presbyterian Seminary so I could study to become a minister. And I ran into a real serious problem. You see, the church at that time felt there was a real dichotomy between the spirit and the body. If it had to do with the body, it was sinful, it was pleasure, it was not appropriate. That what mattered was Jesus and the church, the spirit. So they were upset that I was playing rugby. In fact, they actually prayed that I would stop playing while I was studying there at the seminary. And conversely, the men that I've been playing rugby with were saying, what are you doing going to church and studying? You should be out praying with us. You should be having fun, playing, not praying. So I was really caught between, and I thought there has to be a middle ground. And a couple things happened that kind of came together for me. One, we had a speaker come to Montreal. His name was Amos Alonzo Stagg. He was a student studying to be a minister down at Yale University, and he came up and talked about a new movement in Christianity called muscular Christianity. And the goal was to present a stronger Jesus, not just a feminine, gentle Jesus, but a muscular Jesus. I liked that idea. And then I went to the YMCA to talk to the director, Mr. Budge. Now, a quick recap of what happened with the YMCA. This had started back in the 1850s over in London when a man over there was thinking, we have all these young people leaving the farms and coming to the cities to work in the factories. This is industrialization, and sometimes go to school. And that's what I did. I left the farm to go to the city. Now, what are the people going to do in the city after they get out of work? On the farm, there's always work to do. But in the city, they're going to go to brothels, they're going to go to taverns, they're going to drink. He decided we have to come up with a counter-attraction to places of questionable repute. And he thought of a YMCA, a Young Men's Christians Association, where people could go and read the Bible and talk about religious matters. It was a counter-attraction. I really liked that concept. And it worked. Pretty quickly it grew. They talked about other books. And eventually they got into physical education, physical workouts with gymnasiums. Well, the idea spread across the Atlantic, and a YMCA was opened up in Boston, Massachusetts, and another one up in Montreal. And that's the one I joined and enjoyed the work there. So I went to talk to Mr. Budge, the director of the YMCA, and told him my dilemma, that I was looking for a middle ground between the church on the one hand, I wanted to be a minister, but physical education, athletics on the other. He said, well, you know, there's a new school opened up in Massachusetts, down in Springfield. It's called the School for Christian Workers, and they're trying to train people, young men, to work in churches and in schools to help young people out. So I decided to go down and visit this new school, the School for Christian Workers in Springfield, Massachusetts. And he went on to add that they had just taken on a new program. They were now known as the International YMCA Training School. Their task was to train young men to work in these YMCAs that are opening up all over the world. So I went to Springfield and I became a student, one of 42 in the class of 1890. And I really enjoyed my work there. And the leader of the program that I was involved with was Dr. Luther Gulick, an amazing figure. He brought to Springfield and to the YMCA this concept of spirit, mind, body, all being one. They're all entwined in each of us. If we nurture one, we help the others. They're connected, not disconnected as the church was promoting. So I really like this idea, this middle ground that seemed to be working. There were some great classes there at Springfield. I remember one was called Care and Prevention of Disease Conditions Without Medications. I think we've gone way overboard in terms of medications and pharmaceutical goods to solve our problems, as opposed to massage and physical exercise and so on. Another class he had was called The Psychology of Play. He directed this class. And his idea was, we have football, in that case at Springfield, in the fall, and we have track and baseball in the spring, but we don't have anything for the winter, those long winter months in the north where it's so cold and you can't do much outside. We need an indoor game. And the men were becoming very bored and dissatisfied with the gymnastics day after day. So he had this class called Psychology of Play, and he was trying to come up with some new ideas. And he said, there's nothing new under the sun, only recombinations of elements that already exist. So I raised my hand and I said, well, if that's the case, all we have to do is find some new combination. We'd have the game you're talking about. He said, you're right, Naismith, that's your homework assignment. Come up with a new game. Well, we didn't then, but we did come up with a game not long after that. I was assigned a class where the men were so unruly, the two professors that were in charge of that class had quit. And he said, Naismith, I want you to take that class, and I want you to come up with that new game you talked about. That's a story that I'll come back to in a couple of minutes.